Take a deep breath.
Give him hell at the end. Good luck to you.
Fight like hell like we do every week. You are the best here.
Brett, be affirmative. You told me to get on. Info. Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green. Lock it down, lock it down.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14th. What the f is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Hell yeah!
11 got it. Rowdy there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job. 10-4. Great job, guys.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. Thanks for joining as we kind of break down today's race at Pocono. If you're just joining, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get started. Hope you're having a great Sunday. It is hot here on the East Coast. All I can say, it's hot. All right, last weekend at the M-Better 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Christopher Bell shakes up the playoff standings once again. They're topsy-turvy, to say the least. 14 drivers now qualified with 2 remaining to go. Actually, 6 races to go, and 2 road courses, which could throw a wrench into it, and a super speedway to finish it all off. Yeah, it's going to be crazy coming down to the stretch here. And today could also prove to be an interesting race. But last week from New Hampshire, your winner Christopher Bell did make the optimal lineup, along with Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace with a good run, starting 4th and finishing 3rd. Yeah, it looks like that pit crew swap between Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell seems to have paid off for at least 23XI and Joe Gibbs Racing. But 301 laps, we had one dominator, Martin Truex Jr., who, man, he was tough all day long until the end. And just that last pit stop again, this is twice that pit crew has, or crew chief has kind of made the wrong choice. But either way, he still had a strong finish in 4th and still holds on to a points position well enough to get him into the playoffs. But will that be enough? Christopher Bell winning knocks Kevin Harvick out of the playoffs. And will we see a new winner this weekend? I don't know. Good chance. Or possibly not. Who knows? But other drivers who just didn't fit into the optimal lineup because of salary: Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain. I mean, like I said last week, Toyotas were going to be tough. And we had 3 Toyotas and the optimal, and then Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch right there that could have possibly made the optimal depending on pricing. But yeah, Toyotas were tough, and I think Toyotas will be tough again today. I think they're going to be probably one of the teams to kind of watch out for, and one of the manufacturers to watch out for. But our optimal lineup challenge, Ross Chastain still sitting at the top of the heap at 9, Chase Elliott with 8, Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez tied for 3rd with 7. Kyle Busch, William Byron, Austin Dillon, Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick. And can Kevin Harvick get a win here at Pocono? One of his better tracks. But either way, we are at Pocono for the M&M's Fan Appreciation 400. This is, I guess, their last hurrah going out this year, and throwing all sorts of controversy into the world of Kyle Busch. Where will he go? Track type, I don't even know where to label this thing. It's flat, it's long, it's fast, it's got drafting, got a little of everything. But either way, we have got, sorry about that, 2.5 miles around the tricky triangle. There are only 3 turns to a triangle, so 3 turns here. 14 degrees in turn 1, 8 degrees in the tunnel turn at 8 degrees, and turn 3/4, 6 degrees. Race length today is 60 laps, 160 laps. Dominator points will be something to look at, but not necessarily end all. Dominator points total of 112, lap sled coming from 40, and fast laps from 72. And the fast laps will be probably spread out a little bit, not as much as a super speedway. So, with that being said, our Pocono track comparisons, there is no real comparison, to say the least. But when you've got to have some type of comparisons, I guess. I don't weigh too heavily on these because it's just so different. But New Hampshire being flat, Gateway being somewhat flat and long straightaways, Nashville also not really heavily banked, and then of course Pocono are the three tracks that I'll be looking at when I did my deal. But let's get into what you came for. Let's look at the driver by driver breakdown and rankings, percentages, practice, qualifying, past history, all that fun stuff. So, as I do every week, we'll start with the top spot here, 10,600 for Kyle Busch. Over here to the top left is where he comes in on the ranking system, which goes into the last 5 races here at Pocono. It looks at the track comparisons and looks at the last 10 race trend, and kind of whatever, puts all that into an algorithm and kind of comes up with a fifth. Also heavily takes into his starting spot. So what type of place differential do we have? But Kyle Busch here, fifth on that, starting second. I've got him in 35 to 40%. He was 8th in 1 lap practice speeds. Now only 4 drivers made it up to 10 laps, and Kyle Busch was second in the 10 lap average. 21 drivers did finish the 5 laps, where Kyle Busch was 6th in 5 lap speeds. Kyle Busch, so once we get past all this, down here is the last 5 races here in white, and in the last 5 races here at Pocono, Kyle Busch has 1 win, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 4 top 20s, 44.6 Draftkings average, and 11th place average finish. The last race, which was the second of a doubleheader last year at Pocono, Kyle Busch finished first. And then this is the total history at Pocono, where he has started 34 total times, has 4 wins to his record, 11 top 5s, 18 top 10s, and 22 out of 34 top 20s. All right, so kind of skim through the rest of these. Not skim, we'll kind of dive into these. Denny Hamlin next in line here at 10,400 does have the pole position. He was 11th in single lap speeds, and he did not ever make it past 5 laps. Third on the algorithm ranking system, and I've got him in 40 to 45% of my lineups. I think Denny Hamlin may be one of the ones to beat, depending on what his pit crew does and if he decides to speed or not speed on pit road. But Denny does have 2 wins in the last 5 races here, with 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 59.0 Draftkings average, and a 4.4 average finish. I usually am not heavy on pole sitters, but Pocono, it's tough to make passes. It typically can get fairly spread out. It's a little chaotic on the start, but if you're, in that first or second spot, usually it's not too chaotic. It's much more, 3rd, 4th, 5th row back, where they start to fan out 3, 4, 5, and 6 wide, coming down the longest front stretch that we have in any oval course that we run at. So I don't necessarily think there's too much issues with starting up front, unless you have an issue on pit road. And Toyotas have been known to do that this year. So I am taking a little bit of a risk by going with Denny Hamlin. I'm probably over heavily from the field on Denny. I think he probably comes in at probably 25 to 30% owned. There's some other guys that are starting from the back that'll probably get heavier owned for place differential. But after watching the truck race and the Xfinity race, even with attrition, really kind of the top 20 was the top 20. I mean, they swapped some spots, but no real huge place differential switching. You're going to have a few guys that'll make it up there, and that's going to be the key to winning today in DraftKings. But Denny Hamlin did finish 14th in the second race at Pocono last year. He's got 32 total starts here at Pocono with 6 wins, 14 top 5s, 21 top 10s, and 26 top 20s. Hey, if you're just joining in, welcome, and make sure you hit me up in that chat with who you think today's race winner is. Who do you think is going to be the heaviest owned? Who are you putting in your lineups? And to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate you joining. Would love to chat with you guys. Martin Truex Jr. here next, 10,300, starting 8th, 4th on the ranking system. I've got him in 40 to 45% of the lineups. I think Martin Truex Jr. should pick up where he left off. This track is going to run fairly similar, not real similar, but fairly similar to New Hampshire. Flat, long, high speeds going into some of the corners, but they're going to have to gear down. And Martin Truex Jr. just had a dominating race last weekend. I think he continues. He's going to need to get a win to make it into the playoffs and assure him a spot. So I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to do what he can like he did last week. And I think the Toyotas are going to be class of the field again this weekend. But 10,300 starting 8th. He was 14th in single lap, 11th in 5 lap, and did not do a 10 lap average. He does not have a win in the last 5 races here, but does have 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 38.2 Draftkings average, and a 9.6 average finish. He did finish this race in 18th at the second race at Pocono last year. He's got 32 total starts here at the Tricky Triangle, with 2 wins to his record, 6 top 5s, 13 top 10s, and 25 top 20s. Chase Elliott, 10,100, starting 3rd. I am not heavy on Chase Elliott. He comes in 16th on the ranking system. He's been having a heck of a year. He even went out and won the SRX dirt race last night, somewhere in Ohio. Can't remember the name of the track, but yeah, Chase Elliott has been on a hot streak. He's finished in the top 2 in the last 4 races. And all things kind of come to an end at some point. And I think today may be it for Chase. His stats here are not stellar. 10,100, starting 3rd. He was 10th in single lap, 3rd in 5 lap. He was fastest in 10 lap. But in the last 5 races here at Pocono, he does not have a win. Only 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, a 17.7 Draftkings average, and a 21.2 average finish. He finished 27th in this race last year in the second race of that doubleheader. 12 total starts here. He's only got 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, and 8 top 20s. Starting 3rd, I just don't love the starting spot for Chase Elliott. Yeah, he was fairly fast in practice, but I don't know. He might prove me wrong. I do have him in some lineups, but I'm probably going to be light on the field. I think he's probably going to be in the 20% owned range, I guess. Ross Chastain, $10,000, starting 21st. If that's where he was actually going to start, I would be like, oh, this is great. Ross Chastain been running really well. He was fastest in practice. He was fastest in 1 lap or in 5 lap average. He did not do a 10 lap consistently or consecutively. But he spun at the very end of practice, which definitely caused some type of issue with his car. He didn't hit anything, but something happened when his tires got flat, so they have to go to the rear because they are making some changes to the car and repairing it, so he will have to start from the rear. He still is credited with the 21st starting spot, but will start this race in 34th, I think, 34th or 35th, and will have to work his way through the field, which at this track can be a little tough. So that and his stats here are not the best. Now his stats for the year are great, but here at Pocono at the Tricky Triangle, not so much. He's got 3 starts in the last 5 races. He has no top 20s, an 8.5 Draftkings average, and a 29.7 average finish. He finished 26th in the second race at Pocono last year. He's got 6 total starts here at the Tricky Triangle and no top 20s. So I'm off of Ross Chastain this week. I think he was fast in practice, but now that they've had to do repairs to the car, I think it's going to be a little unsure exactly what that's going to do. So I'm fading Ross. I'm sure a bunch of people will take Ross because they'll see the 21st starting spot and may not know everything. But you're here, you're watching, you know what you've learned. Kyle Larson, 9,800, starting 4th. 5th in single lap. Never got to a five lap consecutive, so no stats there. He is not 89th in the ranking system. I thought I even went through and fixed this. Kyle Larson, 9th in the ranking system. I've got 30 to 35% ownership in Kyle. He's starting 4th. He's got 3 starts where 2 of those starts he missed because of his suspension. But in those 3 starts, he's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, a 53.3 Draftkings average, a 5.3 average finish. He finished 2nd in this 2nd race. And in the 1st race at Pocono, he was leading up until the last corner where he blew a tire. Still doesn't have a win here, so he's still searching. I'm sure he would like to get another win and get some bonus points for the playoffs. But 14 total starts here with only 4 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 11 top 20s. I think Kyle Larson might be the guy to beat today, other than Denny Hamlin. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Toyotas versus Kyle Larson today. Joey Logano, 9,600, starting 14th. 6th on the ranking system. I've got him at 15 to 20%. He was 16th in single lap, 9th in 5 lap. Does not have a top 5 in the last 5 races here. Does have 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 22.9 DraftKings average, and an 18th place average finish. He finished 10th here in the 2nd race last year. Does have 1 win out of the 26 total starts here at Pocono. 4 top 5s, 10 top 10s, and 15 top 20s. I just don't love Joey Logano at this track. So I'm probably even with the field. Starting 14th, it does give us a little bit of PD upside potential, but nothing so far has shown me that Joey seems to be having some mid-season issues. I think they're trying to straighten those out, but just don't love Joey Logano today. Ryan Blaney, 9,400, starting 6th. He was 28th in single lap, so good qualifying run for Ryan Blaney with not having great practice speeds. 7th on the ranking system. Don't love his starting spot. I think he might start where he finishes, which may be enough to have a pretty good points day. Ryan Blaney also tends to run fairly well at flat tracks, but he's got 1 top 5 here at Pocono in the last 5 races, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 42.8 DraftKings average, and he's got an average finish of 11th. He did finish 6th here in the 2nd race at Pocono last year. He does have 1 win here out of his 12 starts with 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and 10 top 20s. So Ryan Blaney's pretty good here. I just think he's going to finish where he starts. So, and that's probably good enough. So I do have him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. William Byron here, 9,200. William Byron had the same issues as Ross Chastain. He was 13th in practice, 7th in 5 lap consecutive average, and then spun coming out of turn 3 on the final lap of practice and had some issues on the undercarriage of the car that they went ahead and qualified 18th. I think they had a better car than that, but they will now have to go to the rear to make changes. I think William Byron potentially could get himself up to, a top 15, top 10. But coming from the rear at Pocono is just not the best. There's not a ton of passing potentials. I think he finishes better than where he starts. I just don't know if he gets all the way up into a top 10 situation or a top 5 situation, which we would really need out of William at 9,200 starting 18th. So it's going to be a little tough. He does have an 8th place average finish here. He finished 12th in this race last year. Out of 8 total starts here at Pocono, he's got 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 8 top 20s. So I don't mind William Byron. I just don't like the fact that he's having to start from the rear. And weird things happen back there, to say the least. Kevin Harvick, $9,000. Starting 5th was not great in starting. Hold on. Starting 24th, so that's not right. So 24th starting spot, 30th on his single lap practice speed, did not get to a 5 lap consecutive. Kevin's really good here, Pocono. And starting 24th, he's going to have some work to do, but the pit crew is really good. The crew chief's really good. Who you taking today, man? Who's taking Kurt's spot today? Who's taking Kurt's spot today? Fish, what are you talking about? Who's taking Kurt's spot today? I don't know what you mean by that. Kurt's racing, as far as I know. Unless something has happened this morning. Hit me up and let me know, Mark. Did something happen to Kurt? Is he not racing today? But, yeah, let me know about that, Mark, if you're still there. Let me just go and pull Twitter up real quick. What's the old Bob Pockers have to say? He would be in the know. Ty Gibbs will be in the 45 car today. He won't get points. All right, let's just go ahead and slide this over here. Kurt Busch is having concussion-like symptoms, so will miss the race today. Medical waiver to miss the race. Ty Gibbs is in. So if you've got any Kurt Busch today, Kurt Busch will not be getting points because he did not start. Ty Gibbs is not in the list. So that answers that question. Thanks for letting me know, Mark. I had not seen that before going live. I did not check Twitter. I was getting all of my stuff ready. So yes, Kurt Busch is out. Ty Gibbs is in. Ty Gibbs is not in Draftkings. At least not that I know of. And that would be kind of shocking if they did do that. Draftkings. Sure. Let's see. Kurt Busch is out. Ty Gibbs is not in. So if you've got any Kurt Busches in your lineup, pull them out. I had him in. I was off on him anyways. Mostly because of what had happened. Yeah, so Kurt Busch wrecked in his second qualifying lap and destroyed that car. It was a hard hit. He backed it into the fence, destroyed the car. I didn't think it was bad enough to have a concussion, but you never know. So I've only got him in one or two lineups, mostly because he was starting 10th and then having to go to the rear, and he was going to have a brand new car completely. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot from that. But where were we? William Byron, Kevin Harvick, we talked about. I like Kevin a lot today. All right. Our next grouping here, Christopher Bell, 8,900. Our winner from last week, 14th winner this year. Starting 13th, he was second in 1 lap speeds, second in 5 lap averages. Christopher Bell does not have a win here, has 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s. He's only started 4 total times here at Pocono. I do like Christopher Bell today also. I think he has a potential to definitely improve on his spots. He could get him a top 5. He could even get himself a win. He's good here. He's good at flat, long tracks. So I expect Christopher Bell to improve his starting spots. I've got him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. All right, next in line here, Chase Briscoe, 8,700, starting 13th. Hold on, I screwed that up too, didn't I? I went back and checked all this. I'm sorry, guys. This Briscoe, so Christopher Bell is starting 11th. That helps that. Too difficult to change the number now, but Christopher Bell starting 11th. And I think he gets himself into a top 5. Chase Briscoe here starting 13th. 20th in single lap, 21st in 5 laps. Don't love Chase Briscoe's starting spot. I think he kind of may finish where he starts. He started here twice, and he's got a 22.5 average finish. He finished 21st here last year. This car's a little different. He is running fairly well with this car, but I may have got 10 to 15% ownership on Chase Briscoe. But I think he kind of finishes where he starts. Kurt Busch, we just talked about. Don't start him. He isn't racing, so we're not going to talk about him. Other than I hope Kurt Busch is feeling better. Tyler Reddick, 8,300, starting 16th. He was 8th in single lap, and has 4 total starts here, where he's got one top 10, 2 top 20s. He's got a 21.3 average finish. He finished 9th in the second race here at Pocono last year. Starting 16th. I'm going to be off on the field probably on this one. I think Tyler Reddick probably comes in at 15 to 18% owned. So I am fading Tyler Reddick today, mostly because I just don't think this is his favorite style track. He likes something with a little more banking where he can run that top side. So I just don't love Tyler Reddick's starting spot. And I don't think he runs that well here. Alex Bowman next in line here. Alex Bowman, 8,100, starting 17th, 9th in single lap practice. Does have one win here when he got lucky when Kyle Larson blew a tire in the first race at Pocono last year, getting him the win. I mean, he was having a solid day. He was in second place. Does have 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 37.4 Draftkings average, and a 12.8 average finish. He backed his win up with a 7th place finish in that second race last year at Pocono. I like Alex Bowman today. I've got him in 20-25% of my lineups. He is having a rough last 4 or 5 races. He's going to need a solid finish. I think he just bides his time and tries to kind of run where he's starting, and then towards the second stage, I think he tries to work his way to the front then. He just needs to get past the first stage, and then he can go racing a little bit. But yeah, Alex Bowman's had a rough go at it. I think he needs to have a good finish, and I think he's going to do whatever he can and bide his time and work his way to the front. All right, Daniel Suarez, 7,900, starting 9th, 3rd in single lap. I don't know what to do with Daniel other than I faded him. 21.2 average finish. He's only has 1 top 5, 3 top 10, 6 top 20s here at Pocono. In the last 5 races, he's only got 2 top 20s, 21.2 average finish. Don't like Daniel's starting spot. I think he might get himself a top 10. I think he's much more of a top 15. But Daniel's been one of those. He's been real hit or miss lately. Yeah, I mean, I'm off of Daniel, as you can see. I've only got 0 to 5%. He came in 31 on my ranking system. So I'm faded off on Daniel Suarez today. I just think his starting spot's too high. He's probably one of those that'll bite me today, just because I'm going to be way off on him. Eric Almirola, 7,800, starting 12th, 27th in single lap, 16th in 5 lap. Remember, there's only 21 guys that got 2 5-lap averages, so kind of down the board. Eric's fairly good at flat tracks. This is a long flat track with high speeds. He does have a 10.4 average finish over the last 5 races, which makes me indicate that he probably gets himself maybe a top 10, probably top 15, which means you're going to finish where you start. And at 7,800, is that enough? Yeah, maybe not. I've got him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. 14th on the ranking system. He finished 16th in this race last year. So yeah, I mean, he's only got 2 top 5s for his total 19 starts, but does have 11 top 20s. So I think he kind of finishes where he starts, which might be enough, but at 7,800, it's a little expensive to get that. Eric Jones. Yeah, so 7,600. Lots of drama this weekend. Now, Kurt Busch is out. Ty Gibbs is going to race. Eric Jones and Ty Dillon's crew chiefs were suspended because of a parts issue where they modified it incorrectly, and NASCAR with this next-gen car, that's a big no-no. So Eric Jones gets to keep his starting spot, but he loses his crew chief. He loses 35 driver points. The owner loses 35 points, and I'm sure there will be fairly stiff penalties. But 35 points, it's not quite as severe as Brett Keselowski 100 points, but that's 35 points is huge. That's a pretty big penalty. I'm surprised they didn't regulate him to start 36, but he's already starting 34th, so that wouldn't have been that bad of a deal. He was 6th in single lap, 4th in 5 lap. I'm not sure what he did during qualifying. Maybe that is his punishment. I don't know. Eric Jones, either way, starting 34th. You know, his fault might be our gain. I think he's going to be heavily, heavily owned, even with the crew chief suspension, even with the points deal. I think there's just going to be enough attrition that Eric Jones is going to get himself a top 20. I mean, he's got a 19.2 average finish over the last 5 races here. He's got 2 top 5s. In his total 10 races, he's finished 6 times in the top 20. This is kind of one of those. You have nowhere to go but up. So I definitely think he gets himself in position. He potentially could even get himself a top 10. He's really good at this track. I'm 30 to 35%. Ty Gibbs starts from the back in the 45. Yes, Paul. Ty Gibbs does start from the back in the 45. He is not eligible for Draftkings points, and I'm sure he's probably not even eligible for NASCAR Fantasy Live since it was such a late change. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how Ty Gibbs does in a Cup car. I mean, this is kind of a big moment for him. I think Ty Gibbs just bides his time, learns this car, and we might see him make some moves in the 3rd stage. But I think Ty Gibbs needs to just learn the Cup car. He's going to be good. He could be somebody that could make it up in through the field. I think Ty Gibbs to finish the race, number 1, would be the biggest factor for him. And number 2, if he can get himself into a top 20, I think that's a huge win for Ty. Watch Ty Gibbs come from the back and win this thing. And then you've got a real predicament on your hands if he goes out and wins a Cup race in his first start. Did an Xfinity. So, yeah, that would be... Talk about nuts. Ty Gibbs winning this race. I mean, he would not be eligible for a playoff spot. So, you know, a Martin Truex Jr. or a Ryan Blaney would be fairly happy with that. But, gosh, Ty Gibbs go out and win today. I don't even know if he would be... He's even... Let's take a look. Is he even in sportsbook to even be bet on? Ty Gibbs. He is in the sports books. He is plus 30 or plus 3,000. So 30 to 1 is Ty Gibbs today. So I mean, he's liked better than Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric. Yeah, that if anything, that tells you a lot right there. Is literally Ty Gibbs is favored more than Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, Austin Dillon, Brad Kay. I mean, he's got a plus 3,000. That's nuts. But yeah, wow. All right, that's crazy. Yeah, thanks, Paul, for the information. Yeah, Paul, who do you got for today? Who do you think's going to win? Do you think Ty Gibbs comes from the back in the 45 and wins this thing, or do you think Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch win this thing? I'm taking a Toyota today. I think the Toyotas are going to be strong again. I think they've kind of figured something out in their program, and they've gotten much better. Bubba Wallace, 7,500 next in line here for us. Starting 7th, 12th on single laps, did not make it to a 5-lap, which pretty much we only had, just a little over half the field made it to a 5-lap average, so not a big deal. But starting 7th, he was showing pretty good speed. Kurt Busch was showing great speed until that accident. I don't love Bubba's starting spot, even though I didn't love Bubba's starting spot last week, and he pretty much finished where he started. So maybe today Bubba Wallace starts where he finishes, or finishes where he starts, and at 7,500, that would probably be enough to get you close to the optimal. But 24th on the ranking system, I've got him in 10 to 15% of my lineups. He does have a top 5 here in the last 5 races and 3 top 20s. A 28.4 Draftkings average, which is pretty good. 16.6 average finish. That's not bad. He finished 5th in this race last year. Bubba Wallace could be solid here. He's not bad on flat tracks. And like I said, Toyota's showing good speed. Brad Kay, 7,300. Here's probably my favorite to come from the back, and he's probably going to be fairly heavily owned. Starting 26, Brad Kay has really started to figure out this next-gen car. And, I think Brad works his way up to a top 10. Now, his practice speed was only 22nd and 14th in 5 laps, so not the best there, but I think he's going to consistently work on his car and work his way to the front. He is really, really good at this track. He has 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s in the last 5 starts. He's got an 8.2 average finish. He finished 3rd in this race, the 2nd race last year. And he does have 1 win. And if you look at his total stats here at Pocono, 24. And 20 of those he's finished in the top 20, 15 in the top 10, and 11 times, just a little under half the time he finishes in the top 5. Starting 26, that's a lot of PD upside potential, and I have taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. I'm probably going to be even with the field on that. I think everybody jumps on him. Now, Austin Cindric, 7,200. He won the Xfinity race last year here at Pocono. He runs his track fairly well. He was 15th in single lap and 12th in 5 lap average. I've got him 10th on the ranking system. I'm very heavy on Austin Cindric today. I think he gets himself into a top 10 or even potentially a top 5 today. I think he's going to be very good. So I'm way heavy probably than the field. I think he probably comes in at 15 to 20% owned. So here's going to be the one that bites me, is if Austin Cindric does poorly and who else did I say I was off on? An Eric Almirola or Daniel Suarez has a great day, then I'm in trouble. But either way, Austin Dillon here at $7,000, starting 15th. I think you kind of finished where you start there, Austin. So I am only at 5 to 10% ownership. His average finish is 17.2. He is consistently finishing in the top 20, but can't seem to break through that top 10 mark. He never had a top 10 here at Pocono. I mean, maybe today it's a switch, but in all indications, I mean, even your practice speeds were between 10th and 20th. So 18th single lap, 12th 5 lap. I think you kind of finish where you start. So I'm off on Austin Dillon. Chris Buescher, I think you outkicked your coverage, Chris. I think you're fast. I think you have figured out this next-gen car. But starting 5th, nothing in your stats show me other than you had a win here in a rain-shortened race. Show me that you're a 5th place driver. Are you a top 10? Probably not. Are you top 20? Yeah, probably. But that's not going to do me any good when you're starting 5th. And I think Chris Buescher has a decent day-to-day. I think it's much more like around 12th or 13th, which no bueno for Draftkings. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6,600. He got the race yesterday, and then ended up getting torn up when Jeb Burton. Anybody see that? That was a nasty wreck. Glad Jeb was okay. But if he had been another 2 feet to the left, he would have hit the entrance to pit road head on, and been probably much worse than what he had when he flipped over. Glad to see he was okay. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was tied up in that, so did not get to compete all the laps. But I mean, anytime you get to go out and run this track is always helpful. So maybe that'll help Ricky. He's starting 10th. I think there's a little bit of PD upside here. Nothing, once again, kind of like Austin Dillon. Nothing in your stats show me that you're going to be a top 10 driver, and I kind of need for you to be starting 19th. Next in line here, we've got Michael McDowell, 6,500, starting 25th. Michael's been quietly having a really good year. Lots of top 10s this year. He does actually run this track fairly well in the last 5 races. He's got 1 top 10, 3 top 20s, 21.8 average finish. He finished 17th in the race last year, the second race last year. 19 total starts and 6 top 20s. I know that you guys are probably going like, that's not great stats. Well, but for Michael McDowell, that is great stats. And he's been running really well so far this year with 7 or 8 top 10s. So I think starting 25th, I think there's a lot of PD upside potential here. Michael needs to just go out and have a good day today, keep himself in the top 25, top 20 in points, and go out and win at one of the 2 road courses or at Daytona and get himself into the playoffs. But Michael McDowell's been quietly having a very good year. I only have 10 to 15%, but starting 25th, I think there's argument that I could potentially have more ownership on him. Cole Custer starting 32nd. Well, Cole, you were slow in practice, slow in qualifying, and your averages aren't great, but they're better than 32nd. So I think Cole Custer, he did run the race yesterday and had an okay day. So he's got some more chances at running around this tricky triangle. Mostly and only because of his starting spot do I have a heavy percentage on Cole Custer. Between Cole Custer and Eric Jones, they are both going to be heavily owned today. So probably decent cash lineups, but for tournaments, I'm probably too heavy on Cole Custer. But I think it's one of those. If you think he finishes, top 20, maybe top 15, and if he does that and you don't have him in your lineup, you're not going to win. You're not going to cash. I literally really like Justin Haley today, starting 30th. He was 32nd in single lap, and his stats here, he's got an average finish 27th, but that was in lesser good equipment. And every week they've been just getting better and better, and I don't think 30th is conducive of that. I think he gets himself potentially to 20th, but at 6,100, that might be enough to get into a winning cash situation. So I do like Justin Haley at 25 to 30% owned, and to have the Kyle Bushes, the Denny Hamlins, and those types of guys, you gotta dig down here, and I think Cole Custer and Justin Haley are two of those, and I'm sure that's probably going to be the case for a lot of the field. So Harrison Burton, you could easily pull off of Cole Custer or Justin Haley and go with the Harrison Burton. He was 23rd in single lap practice, 17th in 5-lap average, starting 28th. He's got a decent amount of PD upside potential here. Something said to go with Justin Haley or Cole Custer, but I couldn't argue with you if you took a Harrison Burton over one of those two. So for $6,000 starting 28th, not bad. Ty Dillon, remember, he has lost his crew chief. He's lost 35 points. He is not going to be with this team next year. So I don't know what to do with Ty Dillon. 26th place average finish. He does have 3 top 20s and 10 total starts here, but in the last 5, he doesn't have a top 20 finish. I'm off of Ty Dillon. If he were starting in Cole Custer's spot, I would have more of Ty Dillon, but starting 27th, I think you finish where you start today, bud. That, and you've got your missing crew people and all sorts of drama swirling around that team right now, so I'm faded off of Ty Dillon. Noah Gragson, the winner from the Xfinity race yesterday, who held off Ty Gibbs. That was an awesome finish. I was glad that neither Ty Gibbs or Noah Gragson, who have a tendency to wreck people who are around them to make sure that they win, both of them raced each other clean, and Noah did end up finishing that race. The one worry I have about that is when Noah got out of the car, he was flat exhausted. Starting 22nd, Noah, I don't love your starting spot. You were 31 in 1 lap speed, 16th in 5-lap practice speeds. You've never raced this car at this track. Did win the race yesterday, but he just looked exhausted. So I'm sure they probably pumped him full of fluids. If he partied it down last night, I don't love this 22nd starting spot for Noah. I think he potentially fades. And he also just needs to finish out a cup race. So I think Noah finishes 26th, 25th, 26th, which doesn't do you any good if you start in 22nd. All right, Corey LaJoie starting 23rd, 25th in single lap speed. He does not have a top 20 here in any of his starts. In the last 5 races here, he's got a 25.8 average finish. Starting 23rd, I mean, he's kind of like Noah Gragson. I think you're starting too high. I think you finish where you start, and that's not going to do me any good, Corey. So I faded off a little bit of him. I do have 10 to 15% ownership. Means I've got him in 4 to 5 lineups. So I think you finish where you start, Corey, unless there's just super amount of attrition. I just don't see that today. So don't love that one. Todd Gillen starting 29th. I do like Todd Gillen starting 29th. I think there's some room for upward movement with Todd. I think he's just learning to finish races, and I think that's enough for Todd to finish the race, and he could get himself, a top 20. I don't think he gets much better than 18th, 19th, or 20th, but that would be enough at 5,300 with the PD upside to get it potentially into a winning situation on DraftKings. So I like Todd Gillen way more than I like Corey LaJoie or Noah or Ty. Now we're kind of getting into the no man's land here. Cody Ware, 5,100, 24th in single lap, starting 36. I have no interest in Cody Ware. I don't really have any interest in JJ Elliott or Josh Bilicki. They're just, none of them had any practice speeds. I mean, Josh Bilicki, 20th, which was next to last on 5 laps, but at least he did 5 laps. But for some reason, Josh Bilicki always seems to wreck, or Cody Ware ends up wrecking, or they just have a parts failure, and a mysterious parts failure, and go out. I mean, if you're going to take anybody, I would take maybe a BJ McLeod, who has a tendency to just finish races, unless Kyle Busch wrecks him. But I don't see that potentially happening today. So BJ McLeod at 4,700, maybe. You really have to save. So let's kind of revisit here who are highest owned, or who I think could be dominators today. Easily Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, or Kyle Busch. I think any 3 of those Toyotas, and maybe even Christopher Bell in a Toyota, could get himself up there. Kyle Larson may be the Chevy who stinks up the Toyota show today. Runs really, really well here. His practice speeds were good. So those are my top 4 dominators / highest owned type drivers today. Best place differential guys today, I like Kevin Harvick, Brad Kay, Austin Cindric, Eric Jones, Cole Custer. Maybe a little bit of Joey Logano to get himself into a top 10, but it's really not a huge place differential. It's much more of a finishing position. William Byron is going to have to come all the way from the rear, so I'm not sure I'd love that one as much. I think Alex Bowman has a good possibility of getting himself a top 10, which would be enough to get you into potential optimal lineup territory. Finishing positions, I think Ryan Blaney has a good chance of getting a top 5, or kind of finishing where he starts. Christopher Bell could easily get himself into a top 10, top 5, or even top 3 position. If one of these other Toyotas has an issue, I think Christopher Bell is extremely fast. He's as fast as the other Toyotas. Eric Almirola from 12th, Chase Briscoe in 13th. Bubba and Chris Buescher, I don't love the Chris Buescher call at starting 5th, but I think Bubba Wallace kind of showed us last week. He is running better, and his pit crew is doing better. Chase Elliott, if Chase Elliott runs well today, I'm a sinking ship. I just don't think Chase Elliott has a good day today. That's just my deal. Value guys, Michael McDowell, Justin Haley, Harrison Burton are probably my top 3. In value, I consider anybody under 7,500. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is just going to be, or no, Noah Gregson's just going to be too exhausted from the win yesterday. He just needs to finish the race, and I think that's going to be much more in the 25th, 8th range. Todd Gillen's great value. He's got a potential at starting 29th with some attrition. Don't mind the Todd Gillen run. Hey, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and hit me up in the chat and let me know who you like, who you don't like. Where do you think Ty Gibbs ends up finishing today? Hit me up in the chat. Let me know. I think Ty Gibbs gets himself a top 20, maybe top 15. Optimal lineups today for last year in the first Pocono race. So it was only 130 laps. Today is 160 laps, so a little longer. But the 130 laps, we only had one-ish dominator. I wouldn't even really call it that. He only led 30 laps, but had 17 fast laps. Was Kyle Busch. I think we're much more looking at some finishers. Bubba Wallace from 20th to 14th made the optimal lineup, but mostly because he was $6,100 last year. Daniel Suarez $6,500. And you come down here, there was nobody else that had high positions, so that's why your Daniel Suarez's and Bubba Wallace's got into the optimal lineup. So the bleed laps are spread out pretty evenly. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch all led almost the same amount of laps. So real no dominator last year in the first Pocono race. Remember, we didn't have any practice. We didn't have any qualifying. They line up on the matrix. So, it was much more of a PD play last year. But we only had 2 place differentials. Place differentials, I consider anybody that improves by 10 positions. and finishing positions is 1 through 5. In the second race at Pocono, the most recent, which was a day sooner, or a day later, Kyle Busch again, 30 laps led, 19 fast laps led. Other than that, William Byron led 22 laps. So real no dominators again that I would call for. I mean, I think you need to pick somebody. It's going to be a dominator / good finishing position. You know, you're looking for those top 5s. I think we're going to have to find 3 or 4 of the top 5 finishing positions, and then a little bit of PD upside. I mean, you know, 19th to 1st was big. 20th to 7th is pretty good. 16th to 10th is okay. 23rd to 8th is actually really good. Now, Ryan Preece is not running in the show today. But other finishers, you know, 2nd and 4th would have finished up here higher than Bubba Wallace, but, you know, you have a price ceiling that you have to keep under. And you know, these guys had good races. You know, William Byron from 18th to 12th. He's not racing today, but I mean, here's your 32nd to 18th. It's 39 points. Well, I mean, that doesn't put you in the optimal, but that probably puts you into an area that would put you into winning some money. So, but in that's kind of a general breakdown. We're looking for the guys that are going to finish in top, probably 15, top 10. And the same thing here. All your decent points getters. What was our lowest starting spot? 23rd. So 32nd for Matt DiBenedetto. And 27th for Ryan. Yeah, so pretty much everybody nobody really in the 30s other than Matt DiBenedetto one time. So, all right. It's a tough track. It's a tricky triangle. It's tough to pass at. Long straightaways. Tough flat corners. Right up Denny Hamlin's alley. He loves this track. He's won 6 times. Kyle Busch is kind of in the same spot. He's got 4 wins. And Toyotas look really good right now. I think they've kind of may have worked out their pit crew issues. Maybe they stopped trying to do some funny stuff. But, you know, I like Toyotas today. I like Kyle Larson today to get one of those top 5 spots. So let me know in the chat. Hit me up. I appreciate you tuning in. Good luck today. And, we'll try to stay cool if you're on the East Coast. God, it's hot. It's going to be hot at Pocono today, too. Those guys need to stay hydrated and fluid. You know, it kind of worries me with Noah. I'm sure they pumped him full of fluids, and hopefully he didn't party too much last night. So I appreciate you joining in. Good luck today. Let me know if you want anything, and hit me up in the chat before race time if you got any questions. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next Monday. Thanks. Oh, yeah, you can also watch me do some iRacing, which I'm not great at, but I'm getting better. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Take a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Hell yeah! Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job. 10-4. Great job, guys. Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal and we got it here, bud. Thank you very much.
Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.